In part 1, we talked about the details of Joseph's pruning season, his dreams, his trials, and the challenges he faced. Now we'll dive into the significance of that season and how God used it to refine Joseph's character, preparing him to become the prime minister of Egypt. Number 1, faith and endurance. God's plan is sovereign, even when they seem absurd or impossible to others. Joseph's path, from pit to slavery, from rejection to prison, was all part of God's refining process. When he was sold into slavery and stripped from his family and homeland, God was teaching him to trust the unseen. Through loss, betrayal, hardship, Joseph's faith endured. Every trial, every setback, every seasons of waiting was shaping him, preparing him for the platform and destiny God had planned. Without these hurdles, he wouldn't have been ready for the role God called him to. Number 2, purity and integrity. When Potiphar's wife tempted him repeatedly, Joseph chose righteousness over compromise. God was refining him to stand firm in holiness, even when no one else was watching. Joseph also showed us that the best way to deal with sexual temptation is to run away and guard your heart. Faithfulness in the small hidden battles prepares us for the bigger purpose God has planned. Number 3, patience in suffering. When Joseph was falsely accused and thrown into prison, he didn't grow bitter or give up. God was teaching him to accept suffering and trust his timing, knowing that vindication and reward come from him, not from people. This shows us that patience in trials builds character, shapes faith, and prepares us for the responsibilities God has planned. Number 4, leadership in the small things. Even in slavery and in prison, Joseph managed every responsibility faithfully. No task was too small or insignificant. God was refining him to be a leader in hidden places before elevating him in public authority. His story reminds us that faithfulness in small unseen moments prepares us for greater influence and responsibility. Number 5, humility. Joseph learned that his gift of interpreting dreams wasn't from himself, but from God alone. Every time he said interpretation belonged to God, he was practicing humility and giving glory to the giver. This shows us that recognizing God as the source of our gifts keeps our heart grounded and our vision aligned with His purpose. Number 6, wisdom in stewardship. From managing Potiphar's household to organizing food in prison, Joseph was being trained in leadership and resource management. God was preparing him to steward a nation through the 7-year famine, showing that faithfulness in small responsibilities leads to readiness for greater authority. Number 7, forgiveness. When his brothers finally stood before him in Egypt, Joseph chose grace over revenge. God refined his heart to forgive and to see the bigger picture of his plan. This teaches us the importance of letting go of revenge and trusting God to handle it even if it takes years. God vindicated Joseph, making him prime minister and fulfilling the dream his brothers bowed to him during the 7-year famine when they came seeking for food. Number 8, dependence on God's timing. Joseph spent 13 long years of waiting, sold into slavery, forgotten into prison, overlooked by men. God was teaching him that true elevation doesn't come from people, but from the Lord. Every delay, every season of being overlooked was preparing him for the right moment and the greater purpose God had for his life. Number 9, vision with compassion. In the end, Joseph realized that the dream wasn't just about him. It was about saving lives. God refined his vision from self-centered ambition to servant leadership, teaching him to use his influence for the good of others. This reminds us that God's purpose for our gifts goes beyond personal gain. It's about blessing others and fulfilling His greater plan. The takeaway is, every trial is part of God's refining process. What seems like delay, betrayal, or failure is preparing you for your purpose. So if you're facing trials or being treated unfairly like Joseph before he became prime minister, don't lose heart. God is still at work, shaping you for your moment, and He will bring His promises to pass in His perfect timing. Follow for part 3 where we talk about the details of Joseph's vindication and restoration. Till next time, God bless.